Hey there, California Dreamers. This is Mike, and oh my god, we hit episode 2. So I guess we can be considered a real series now? Wait, that's 3. That's 3 episodes. Well, we'll probably make it to 3 episodes. Yeah, this is episode 2 of Paradise Pier, and what we're going to try and do today is build a sign to adorn this beautiful arch and maybe kind of fix up this area here. If you're new to the series, here is what we're doing. I am taking my version of Paradise Pier and I'm building it in Planet Coaster. I'm taking some ideas that worked out in the final version of Paradise Pier that we got, but there was a lot of parts of Paradise Pier that didn't work out. If you remember any of the horribly punny and tacky shops that adorned the pier, for instance, the Malaburritos and the oh god, Muscle Beach something tattoo parlor or something like that. I don't know. It was ugly. It was ugly. It's just ugly. So in the first episode, we tackled California Screamin and its entrance here. And we are going off of the artworks over here. Oh, don't mind that. Don't mind that arch. I'm just playing with a few different shapes. But you can see in the original design that there was a lot of arching, a lot of arch, a lot of tunnels, a lot of really cool kind of turn of the century type pieces, architectural influences. And you can even see, I took this directly from this concept artwork where you walk directly into California Screamin' because of course you would. It's a massive ride that takes up a lot of people. And the fact that it doesn't do that in the real park is a head scratcher to me. So I took that directly off of the artwork because when you come across the bridge and you can see the coasters going off right there, you come right into California Screamin' right there. That's how it always should be. This is the mock-up that I created in Photoshop to make sure that, you know, it looked good and it had all the right parts. If you just take a look here at this California and see all the little details, yeah. Why am I doing this? And then I really wanted to use the box lettering because Vintage came with it, till I realized it's freaking huge. Oh my god, it's huge. It's just, let me put a freaking, let me grab Vintage. I love the pack. I really do. I think there are a lot of really cool things in it, but I cannot do. Here's what I can do. I can put in the S. I can put in the C. I can put in, let's see, the R. I can put in Scree. California Scree. Or just Cali Scree. So that isn't going to work. I did make some changes to the coaster. They're kind of slight, but you can see the coaster now runs 4 cars, which is similar to what California Screamin' has. It has 6 cars of 4 people, and this has 4 cars of 6 people. So it has even better capacity now. And I fixed a few things. I noticed that, like, if I look overhead, this part of the coaster, this was going underneath it, and this is all going to be latticed. So this had to move over. There's certainly some creative liberties I've taken with this design. Oh, and then the other thing that I fixed was this bunny hill. I think I had 4 of them in there, and when I looked, it only had 3, and I was able to stretch it out and make it a little bit more smooth for sure. And I'm going to continue to keep messing with this coaster until it's where I want it. But yeah, every time you see it, something different is going to be happening to it a little bit. Oh, and I also got the lights underneath so that when I turn to night, you can see how these colors are bouncing off each other. And I really, really like that. I've always really liked that blue that shines off the coaster, and I think it's going to work really well here. So I wanted to take you into Photoshop and kind of get an overview of this area because this is how I plan. I have a general idea in mind, and then I create a landmark, which I've done here on this archway. And then I have to kind of figure out what I'm going to do with the rest of the area. And so taking a picture overhead and just kind of drawing on it and making sure that I've got some, things in scale like people really, really helps me kind of figure out what I want to do. So the first thing that I wanted to do was create a fast pass area. I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to incorporate it into this this archway here. It has a fast pass area, and I just feel like that has to be part of it. I don't know what it is now. I'm not a huge Disney-phile anymore. I don't know if it's My Pass now or whatever the heck it's called. But this area, this is what I see. I see kind of using up this little bit here, so that when you enter, if you want to get fast pass, you can just go and do it. And the thing that I want to do, especially in this area, is I have this idea for a trellis. A curved trellis that kind of carries the same shape. So I want this to all feel very round. It's another thing about Paradise Pier and DCA in general. There are a lot of edges. Edges are not a good sign of design, at least in a sort of like pleasure-y type way. It can be very stark and cool in like museums and stuff like that, but curves, what they do is they allow you to see around, or they actually block you off from seeing everything all at once. That's why grids are not usually used so much in theme parks, except for main streets or something like that, where you really want to see all the way down the street. Curves hide, curves create intrigue. And I think I originally wanted some roses from the new set, but I don't know if that's going to work in this area. I'm looking at the peeps. I'm looking at the size, and in the way that the paths are, it's really hard to get anything small enough to actually have some landscape in here. I may have to kind of shelve that idea. I also want to focus on, I'm going to get some green out here. Some planters. Because I feel like this needs some greenery. I was playing with a few trees, but I think this needs an actual planter. And maybe a planter over here. So this will be the shop. And I'll just write that out. S-H-O-P. Oh, that's great. And then, like other people have been mentioning, I'm going to put the on-ride or on-camera kiosk somewhere in this area. So you'll be able to access the shop as a normal guest, but you'll also, when you're coming off the ride, you'll be cattle penned into this little camera area. Because, remember in 2001, we didn't really have a whole lot of smartphones. People weren't taking a whole lot of pictures on the ride. You'd have to take a camera on. And you would generally buy the picture that the park gave you. Now what you can do is, and what they've finally caught on, is that they're putting watermarks on the pictures and making sure that you're not stealing them. But in some cases, people don't even care about that. This is going to be some kind of vendor cart. I'm not entirely sure what yet, but I know that in the new Paradise Pier, before it turned into Pixar Pier, they installed a few of these vendor carts, and it looks really nice, and it kind of uses up the space pretty smartly. So that there with maybe a little seating area or something like that, I think that will work, because as this path goes down, it's going to hook back around so you can see the launch of California Screamin', and it should have those cabana gazebos too, because those are really effective in an area where there's not a whole lot of coverage in terms of shade or shade structures. Those are pretty damn important. I was able to get 2 of the soda machines in. I'm using the Pip Shop machines, but as you can see again, they're connected to a path, and I mean, I can kind of get it in there, but it's not in line with the others. I don't know. I think I'll just stick with 2 and then fake the rest of them. But adding the greenery certainly helps. It gives me a sense of scale, and I really do like a line of date palms on the back. That's something that is pretty iconic to the Paradise Pier landscaping, is these date palms. So I've got them here, and I'm going to repeat that kind of pattern across the pier in a bunch of different areas. All right, well, similar to, I think, Mass Bandit's episode 5, Surfside Pier, where he's doing a sign, I am also doing a sign. I have decided on this California font, and if I move it into this area over here, woo, get a little crazy there. It's gonna have to sit up, and I'm gonna have to be able to hide it somewhere. But yeah, no, that looks good. That reads really nicely. That kind of sits on top really nicely. I like the big C and the big A. We're gonna go for it. So I will spare you the details of what I had to do to get this sign. But I'll show you. I will definitely show you. Each one of these hooks is a bobble. And I'm doing the SP Ridley method of painting with hooks, because it's the smallest piece to be able to get into some of these really, really tight areas. What you do is you duplicate it, and then you bring it up just so that you can see the hook. Make sure it's not too high, and then you paint. So I'm just gonna do a little circle here inside the C. Paint. Here's the tedium of sign making. And I will say, I mean, it's come out awesome. You can see the California here. I did tease it on Twitter, and it looks really cool even from even from a perspective of just seeing all the baubles and stuff. And it ends up being 1,880 pieces. I think this is the 10 pieces I just added here. This is 1,880 bauble pieces to make one California sign. Alright, so the first thing that I wanted to kind of cover is this Boardwalk Tower. I've split it off from... well, I actually moved it. I mean, I got some really cool inspiration from some pictures of some old boardwalks, like the old Luna Pier in Coney Island. I believe SP Ridley put a whole bunch of those up, and that was extremely helpful. And what I came away with Boardwalk is that it's a lot of... you establish a shape, and then you just kind of outline that shape, and you keep building upon that until it kind of looks correct, and then just make sure that your color schemes are working with the rest of the structure. So with that in mind, let's head back over here. Okay, so I've painted everything white because it kind of helps me just see the form itself instead of seeing all the disparate parts. And I've got it kind of set up with a little bit of a little trim here, and again, kind of outlining those pieces. So I think I'm going to have some windows kind of sit in here. I just don't know which ones yet, or if I'm going to have to like make my own arch window or something like that. I really don't want to have to do that. But as you've seen from previous episodes, I will do things that are crazy if I think that the design is going to benefit. So I found a window that works. It's this castle window, and just on its own, it's freaking enormous. But what I really like about it is those this leaded glass here. That is very, very vintagey kind of boardwalk style. And even though the arch is a little bit gothic and a little bit medieval, I think I can work with this. I actually elongated the tower a little bit because when I set it up against... if I move it over here and I set it up against this, it just looks a little bit better with that a little bit higher. But you can kind of see I've started picking out the color schemes, darker red, because the original red was okay, but I wanted it to go a little darker. And then this cyan, which is pulled directly from one of the inside rings on here. And then the star is kind of referenced in here. And it also lights up at night, which is a nice little benefit. Ooh, so that's looking really good. I think I just need to kind of finish up the sides and clean it up a little bit. This is at night. Let me pop it in the day. So it also looks quite good. Again, a little bit of lattice for detail. That's a huge thing in Boardwalk 2, is that they love just kind of covering things in textures. A little bit of the vintage pieces, these little trim pieces, and done in kind of a dimmer color so that it's not so, again, garish if you're playing the garish drinking game. But yeah, and then just a little bit of really dark lighting, and then some little glow on the side here with a little bit of slit windows. I really like that. Yeah, that's looking pretty sweet. I freaking like that. So here is a little thing that I've been working on, is this little seated planter. And I'm kind of carrying the same colors over, again, playing with primaries. So warm tones, yellows, in the cool tones, blues, and reds. But the reds are very desaturated, so they're not intense reds. And yeah, I can live with this. This is nice. It's a little simple and it's a little modern. I don't know how many places would have seated planters like that, or bench planters, but I think it gets the job done just fine. So this side provided a bit of a unique challenge. I couldn't just do a simple planter like that. I had to deal with this fast pass area. And so I decided to go with a bench. Again, it's very Californian, but it's a little bit more modern Californian. So that's why this whole area is not in one specific time period. I'm not necessarily going for a time period in the past. I'm going for a park that has been cared for over time, but it still has some historical kind of influences. I managed to get my arbor set in place. This one wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. It's just a matter of 2-meter poles, and then kind of make it a little beefier by doubling up on the poles. And then I was able to use these really cool vintage kind of tin pieces, or the iron pillars, which has this really cool bronzy type effect. And I think that's going to work. I think that's going to work really nice. And once I cover it up with that fast pass shell that I plan to do with some art shapes and stuff, and kind of duplicate them out, I think this is going to look like a pretty decent little fast pass area. I don't know if it's super logistical. I mean, you would want to bring people in and then bring people out in one direction, but there's no way to control traffic that way. You can use the barriers, but it's not super effective. So after many tries, I had to give up. I could not do what other people could do. I was able to get the California in, which I'm very proud of, but the Screamin, I had to look for somebody else, and my knight in shining armor happened to be Uekins at Bro Nation. And he developed a whole alphabet. He originally just created the Screamin letters for me, but now it's a full alphabet, and it is on the workshop, and the link is in the description. You should absolutely go get it. It's an amazing set, and it's super easy to recolor too. I'll show you. So I need that S, so I'm going to open it up, and I'm going to only select on the backside here, because these are all planks just lined up into each other. And now I can change to any color that I want. So I think we're going to do red on the letters. The other thing you have to worry about, though, with this set is it's when it comes in, the lights are not they're not deactivated. So when you go to night, it's going to blow out your scene. So what you'll have to do is go through and turn off every trigger. It's a little tedious, but I don't know if there's a way around it. I don't think you can set triggers and then make a blueprint. I think it defaults to having all the stuff on. Okay, so here I go installing. And I see that I already have a problem. I kind of knew this was going to be a problem, but this is just kind of... this has confirmed it. My dome isn't large enough. Like this wall is not large enough. It needs to come all the way down, which means I have to fix all of this. Oh, okay, well, and cut to, here we are. I saved you a bit of a long, arduous journey about how I was going to fix this up and make this really, really nice. But I'll tell you, like, what I did here is I stretched this down, and then I realized that I had like an extra angled type cornice in there that wasn't working because it was too small for an area here, so I got rid of that, and then I fixed that up, and then once I installed the California, I realized I needed a box to put everything behind. And I also realized once I had taken off a lot of those arches, this collapsing arch didn't make sense anymore, so I instead went with a little bit of animation here and put in some twinkling lights on this arch on the bottom and made it very animated as you're entering, because I couldn't get the Screamin to do any sort of cool animation. Like, the light itself always stays on even when I have the light turned off, like I'm going to show you here. So in that case, it didn't really work all that well. So this is the only way that I could figure out how to get some animation around the sign. But the California is super classy. I really like the way that came out. And when you see it all together, it's quite nice. I don't know if I'm going to be doing custom signs for everything in this park, but my goodness, does it make a difference. I really, really, really like this. And I cannot thank Uikins enough for making this set and then making it available to everybody. And John, you're a bitch. It was my set. And you got your damn video out before I did. You're a bitch. Stealing my thunder. John steals thunder, masked bandit guy. But yeah, no, it's all cool. I really, really like that he was able to make this set scaled to what I needed it to do. I was really happy that I was able to make California, because I'm not good at signs. Or I haven't really tried, I should say. So I feel like major progress has been made today. We didn't get the full fast pass queue done, and that's okay. We'll fix it. We'll fix it a little later. I still want to have some roses kind of trailing on the back of some lattice. And we'll get, you see I've been working on some of the paths too and some of the edging to make it kind of fit in. We'll get it done. There'll be another detailing episode, I think, where we kind of cover these sorts of areas because there's a lot to be done. So that's where we'll leave it today. I feel like we got a lot done. This area has come a long way already, and even though it's a tiny drop in all of Paradise Pier, it's a significant drop. It's kind of the area that a lot of people are going to be drawn to, and it's the first thing that you see when you come up the boardwalk on Paradise Pier. So if you like what you saw today, you know what to do, and I hope you join me for the next episode of Paradise Pier, where we'll cover a little bit more of the detailing side of it, and try and turn this into more of a lively scene. Maybe we'll hit up that this little shop over here too, because these blank walls, they kind of make me a little depressed. I want to see roofs. I want to see some details in here now, because I'm really excited with how this came out, and everything else needs to kind of follow suit. So, for now, I bid you farewell, but I hope to see you again. Have a great day. Bye.